There's my drone. Big HEV bag. After 5 days of being in a bag with rice, my wet drone finally worked. What up, guys? So as promised, this is just my response on how I feel about Donald Trump being president. Still a little sketchy to say. I mean, it's something where you don't really think like a person like that would ever run for president, let alone would ever make it for president. But he did, and he won. I remember we're hanging out, Alyssa and I, and she had fallen asleep. And I remember being on my phone and looking at the polls and looking at the status of everything that was going on, and it was about 1 in the morning or so, and I saw, I think it was like CNN or some news thing on Facebook, and it was like, or it was on Google, and it said Donald Trump won. It was odd. People have their professions. Like Donald Trump is a businessman. That's what he's known for, and that's what he's done almost his entire life. Is somewhat of a celebrity, a movie star, whatever you want to call him. The Apprentice, and he's been in reality TV, so he's somewhat of a celebrity. And when you think of somebody running for president, you think of someone who has had experience in the realm of government and politics. Celebrities are humanitarians, they're usually philanthropists, they do something with their money, except for Arnold Schwarzenegger, but come on, he's a Terminator, so that's somebody you want as governor. You don't really think of someone as a celebrity running for president. You don't esteem them the way you esteem someone who's been in politics and government and, has been a mayor and has done the things that politicians do. After a day of reflecting on everything, I was thinking to myself, what does the Bible say about stuff like this and men like him? Or, people, on my Facebook timeline, everybody's in an uproar about how horrible he is and how he's not our president and we don't like him and we don't want him to be our president. The country doesn't deserve a man like this. How people want to move to Canada and all this other stuff. Like, everybody's going crazy. And one thing I kept thinking about was God's narrative in history and how we as humanity respond to that. Now, everything I'm going to say in the next 15-20 minutes, however long this video is pretty much a Christian's response to Donald Trump being president. Like, how should a Christian respond? But this isn't a video for Christians or non-Christians. This is really just a video to see if I can articulate what I feel God is doing with all this. You know, whether even if Hillary, you know, I was reading something where you can, you know, impeach Trump and then have Hillary, whatever. Doesn't matter who it is. What does the Bible say about us experiencing a rule or reign under someone we may not agree with, or someone whom we may see as an enemy? So it took me back to Nebuchadnezzar. Now, Nebuchadnezzar was the king of Babylon, and well, I'll just read to you. So Jeremiah 34 starts off, and it says, "The word of the Lord came to Jeremiah, when Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and all his army, and all his kingdoms of the earth under his dominion, and all the people were fighting against Jerusalem and all its cities. Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, go and speak to Zedekiah, king of Judah, and say to him, Thus says the Lord, Behold, I am giving this city into the hand of the king of Babylon, and he shall burn it with fire, and you shall not escape from his hand, but shall surely be captured and delivered into his hand." Now, brief history: Judah and, you know, Israel and all these tribes were under God's authority. They were God's people, but slowly as history progressed, they began to worship other idols, deny God, and pretty much not give a crap about God in their lives. And so it comes to this time where Nebuchadnezzar is the king of Babylon, and God has had it with his people and says, you know what, I'm giving you over to Nebuchadnezzar. There is a narrative that is played out that the people at that time, you know, the people of Judah, the people of Israel, did not know. They didn't know what was meant to come from this. They just knew that they were experiencing injustice. They knew that they were experiencing slavery. They were always God's people. They were always under God's protection. And now God, because they've turned their back from God, they've turned to other idols, God has given them over to Nebuchadnezzar. Jeremiah 39 speaks of pretty much the same thing, where it talks about in the 9th year of Zedekiah, king of Judah, in the 10th month, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and all his army came against Jerusalem and besieged it. Now, you read the same thing in Daniel chapter 1, and it says, in the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hands. So God allowed Nebuchadnezzar to take over Judah, right? The people of Israel, the people of God, they didn't know what was going on. They were in disarray. They were running frantic. They were taken into slavery. And in their heads, they're thinking to themselves, what the heck is going on? Like, this shouldn't be happening to us, right? And America's kind of in that place right now. We're thinking to ourselves the same thing, like, what's going on? We didn't want, you know, the majority. A lot of people I know and come in contact with did not want that. And so they're in dismay. They are confused. They don't know really how to interpret this. But in Romans 13:1, it says, let every person be subject to the governing authority, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval. For he is God's servant for your good. Right? We'll just stop there. So what Paul's doing is, in the book of Romans, you have these Christians, these people who are under the governing authority of Rome, of Caesar, and you know, all that's going on, and they're being oppressed. And Paul's writing to them in Rome and saying, listen to them. Be humble, be submissive, be loving. Because though you may be under the rule of Rome and of Caesar, ultimately Rome and Caesar and all governing authorities are under the rule of God. So they can only do so much as God allows them to do. Now, again, we must read narrative. To look at America, and we look at it in our time frame, like, you know, from, you know, whenever you were born. I was born in the 80s to the 2000s. There's a narrative that's being written for America. And there's a narrative that we daily take a part of in how we spend our money, what we do, what we say, how we treat people. And America as a country will be written in the history books. But we can't see in retrospect right now what's going to happen with Donald Trump, what he is going to do, what he's not going to do. All we can do is live in the now and hope for a better future, right? But despite what everybody's saying, like, he's not my president, you know, you may not want him as president. And you may not believe in God. And, you know, that's your thing. But whether you believe in God, the universe, chance, you know, chaotic universe, whatever you believe, the circumstances have brought their way to bring Donald Trump as a president. And now we must live with that, you know? That's what we have to live with. For the Christian, what is very, very hopeful on Hebrews 11, 9 and 10 is Abraham, by faith, he went to live in the land of promise, as in a foreign land, living in tents with Isaac and Jacob, heirs with him of the same promise. For he was looking forward to the city that has foundations, whose designer and builder is God. The faith that I have now, and the faith that I've had when Bush was president, Obama was president, Clinton was president, well, not that far back, but from Bush, Obama to now Trump, I've solidified myself in understanding that Earth is not going to be forever. And if you study history, where there was the Roman Empire or you know, the Babylonian Empire or whatever empire, they all rise and fall. And no matter what America goes through, and no matter how long America is a reigning power, we're gonna fall. It's gonna happen. We're not gonna be the best country in the entire world forever. Either one, we're gonna fall, or two, the world's gonna end, and that's that. But where the Christian, and this is specifically to the Christian, where the Christian puts their hope in is realizing that Earth is not our ultimate dwelling place. If we trust in America, or we trust in the United States, or we trust in the world to establish a kingdom that we're comfortable with, that's never going to happen. And you see this from election to election, from president to president. Nobody is ultimately fully satisfied. There's always somebody pissed off. There's always going to be somebody who's angry. There's always going to be a group of people who are in an uproar about this president or that president, this governor or that governor. And not only that, the president, the governor, the mayor, whoever they are, they always do something wrong. They never do what's right all the time, because they're men and they're flawed and they mess up. Okay, sorry, my battery died. But yeah, so that's the Christian hope. The Christian hope is saying God is on the throne, and God doesn't only have a bird's eye view. He doesn't only have an outward perspective of like what's going on, but he also has a empathetic and sympathetic view of what's going on. So another thing that we see in the book of Hebrews is, I think it's in Hebrews 2, verses 14 and on, it talks about how Jesus sympathizes with us. He says, "Since therefore the children share in flesh and blood, he himself likewise partook of the same things, that through death he might destroy the one who has the power of death, that is, the devil, and deliver all those who through fear of death were subject to lifelong slavery. For surely it is not angels that he helps, but he helps the offspring of Abraham. Therefore he had to be made like his brothers in every respect, so that he might become a merciful and faithful high priest in the service of God, to make propitiation for the sins of the people. For because he himself has suffered when tempted, he is able to help those who are being tempted." And then we also have Hebrews 4:14 and on, where it says, "Since then we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold fast to the confession. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who in every respect has been tempted as we are, yet without sin. Let us then with confidence draw near to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in a time of need." So another thing we need to understand is that Jesus sympathizes with our current situation. Jesus knows what it's like to be under the rule of bad authority. When he was born, and as a child, he was sought after to be killed. But even as an adult, people were going against him. You see the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the Roman government. Everybody wanted to go against Jesus, but he did nothing wrong. He was a good person throughout his entire life, and especially in the last 3 years of his ministry, he did nothing but do miracles, heal people, feed the poor, the needy, help the hungry. He did all these things, and he was a victim of injustice. He died as an innocent man. And we've experienced that a lot in America in the last couple years. Innocent people, whether it's Christian or non-Christian, gay or straight, black or white, there's been a lot of injustice. And Jesus can sympathize with that. He can sympathize with being wrongly accused of things he did not do and things he did not say. And he died in the hands of injustice. But he can sympathize with us not only in that, but also in being under a tyranny from a king or a president who is not good. Jesus combated all this with love. He says that the greatest commandment is love, and love covers a multitude of sins. So for the Christian, I say, 1, allow your faith to propel you to understand that God is ultimately the ruler of this earth. He's in charge. Whatever's going to happen is not going to slip through his hands. 2, be a hope and comfort and peace to other people, both Christian, non-Christian, both gay and lesbian, both black and white, both straight and not straight, whatever it is. Be a hope to everybody around you. Be a light and a comfort and peace and a joy to be around. And thirdly, don't lose heart. Remember that you have a home, that the builder and the founder and the designer and the one who purchased it is God. And that is your ultimate dwelling place. For the non-believer, for the non-Christian, for the atheist, for the agnostic, we're living in a scary time. And despite having Donald Trump as president, or whoever it was going to be, there's so much going on, not only in America, not only in the United States, but all over the world. And this is more of a challenge for you to look at what you believe and the worldview in which you interpret everything through and see if your worldview fits all these things into it. Injustice, wrongdoing, Donald Trump as president. Ask yourself, how does my worldview interpret this narrative and all that's going on? Because at the end of the day, you must also be a light and a comfort and a joy to people. And if you've come to find yourself in a place where you're afraid, you don't know how to answer questions, and you're scared about what's going to happen in the future, then what I offer you is the hope of the gospel. That God is in charge. He knows what's going on. And everything that's going on right now is not outside of His reign. He's allowing things to happen. He is allowing us to see the hearts of people. You know, we live in a very humanistic culture where a lot of people think like, oh yeah, everybody's good, you know, within themselves. But we're beginning to see that humanism isn't as great as we thought it was. And it's not as pure as we think it is. No matter what you believe, it's always going to have flaws. There's always going to be somebody to, you know, have a counter argument for what you have to say. But what I charge you to do if you're not a believer or whatever is ask yourself, how does my worldview interpret what's going on right now in the world? It could be, you know, chance. It could be, you know, it's karma, whatever it is. So, like I said, this is pretty much my attempt to give you, the audience, a Christian response to the presidency and to Donald Trump as president. Hopefully it's brought you guys some hope. Hopefully it's brought you guys some comfort. Hopefully it's given you guys some answers. If you have any questions, comment on the comment section below. You know, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys have any more questions on anything, biblical, non-biblical, politics, government, whatever it is. Leave questions, response, remarks. If you hated it, tell me. I don't care. Let me know on the comment section below what you guys think, and if this resonated with you in some way, give it a thumbs up. If you feel like it's going to help other people kind of understand things better, then share it, like it, and subscribe to the page, guys.